Welcome to tonight's Brunswick County Board of Education meeting. Appreciate everybody coming tonight. And we're going to start with a moment of silence.
Father, thank you for this evening. Thank you for all that you do for us and for being a mighty God. I just pray blessings on our students and our staff, especially as the year ends. I ask special protection for those children who will be attending prom. Just give them road safety, Lord. And we just pray that you be over all the graduations and celebrate all the seniors. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
And next we'll have the North Brunswick High School JROTC under the leadership of Cadet Major Jaleesa Vahorquez.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Right, face, forward, march.
And next up, we have the approval of the regular meeting agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to go ahead and shelf item number 5 for Ms. Moffitt, as we only have 30 days left on the appointment, and we would have to reappoint the position next meeting anyway. And if we could add for a new number 5 Schneider Electric contract to the agenda. And I'd like to request we move the superintendent's comments to before public address, as I think that they pertain to interest of the public, that they don't generally stay to listen to those, if we could.
All right, let me make sure I have this right. So we're going to table the current number 5 appointment of the Brunswick Brunswick Community College Board of Trustees. And then we're going to replace that number 5 with the Schneider Electric contract that we're going to get a presentation on tonight. And then also we're going to move Dr. Rhodes' comments to the first thing above public address.
Yes, sir. Motion, please.
Motion by Mr. Benton to make those changes.
Second.
Second by Ms. Moffitt. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, and then first up, we'll have Dr. Rhodes.
All right. Good evening, board members. First, just by way of announcement and recognition, I want to make sure that, as we are all aware, that we're celebrating Teacher Appreciation Week this week for our fabulous teachers here in Brunswick County. And there's different things going on across the county. There's different schools being for the recognition of the teachers of Brunswick County. So we are definitely proud of the work that they've done and continue to do, and any other form of recognition that we can give them. So I'm also going to ask at this time that Mr. Siemens come forth and talk very briefly about the opportunity to express more recognition to teachers during Teacher Appreciation Week.
Yeah, well, good evening, everyone. So we've been doing this thank you note form for quite some time. It's been highly successful. I can tell you, because I personally, when they come in through this, when these kind words come in for all of our staff over the past few months, we create a graphic, little thank you note, and we send it to them. And I personally send it to each employee. And many times, those employees reply back, and the words are usually fairly simple, but very powerful in how these thank you notes are finding people at the exact right time that they need just a little uplift. So then fast forward to now. We're day 2 into Teacher Appreciation Week, and we're reaching out to the public to share stories, share their kind words of any teacher inside our school district in honor of it. It can be to say, we just appreciate everything you've done, but it can also be a story, from the past, because I guarantee you, when they read these, I know it. I can feel it in the words that they type back, that it's moving them. So if anybody wants to, the thank you note page is right there on the main page of the district website, www.bcswan.net. There's a little icon there that you just click on, and it takes you to it. It's also, we've shared a couple stories already today on the BCS Facebook page and the Twitter page. So, and the link's right there. It is easy. You click on it, you type in the name, you select the school, and then you just type in your words. And you can leave it anonymous, or even better, when you leave your name so they know who's saying it. But it's absolutely one of the most positive things we've done, just in the feedback, in the reaction. You really don't know what a word or two to remind people of their reason why. And this is a great way to just remind all our educators that teaching matters, and it matters every day.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
The only other announcement I wanted to make is last month, if you remember, you inquired about the process of the Board of Elections going into our high schools to register our students to vote. At that time, I had given you that several of our high schools had been visited by the Board of Elections. I do want to report back this month that all schools have been visited by the Board of Elections. The last one was South Brunswick High School, and that was on April 14th. So at this time, all of our high schools, the traditional high schools and the early college, have been visited by the members of the Board of Elections. And again, the North Brunswick was visited on April 1st, the early college on April 5th, and South Brunswick again on April 14th. So at this time, all of our high schools have been visited by the Board of Elections for registration. Those are the announcements I have for this evening.
Thank you, Dr. Rhodes. And next up, we're going to have public address. Mr. Green, if you could go over the rules real quickly.
Yes, sir. It appears, Mr. Chairman, we have two speakers on the list, Mr. Harmati and Mr. Parker. So I'm reading from 2310 Policy Code. It says discussions regarding particular individual employees, litigation, student records, or other matters may be required to be kept confidential, may not be discussed in an open forum setting. The chairman will have the responsibility to determine matters of discussion that may be inappropriate and rule the speaker out of order if necessary. Presentations will be limited to 3 minutes per person. Mr. Harmati, your name is first on the list.
I couldn't hear anything you said. So is there anything I need to know other than 3 minutes?
3 minutes.
Okay, I know that, but I can't hear what you were saying. I just want to make sure that it's something new that didn't develop. That
It's
Well,
the same policy we read every time.
Thank you. Am I ready to go?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Good evening. Most of you know me as the constitutional man. Today, you're going to know me as the educator. I was a substitute teacher after I came back from Vietnam. Cape Fear Community College hired me to be a business teacher. At Shaw University, I taught public administration and management. I opened my own real estate school. As Army commander, I was responsible for training and development of troops. Today, I teach a constitutional seminar course. And I've given out over 1,000 Constitution books and have written over 800 articles the last 10 years. The U.S. Constitution designates control of personal affairs to the states and to the people by the 9th and 10th Amendment, like education, marriage, and voting, not to the federal government. And now God has called me to be a light to those who are in darkness and to discern the truth in education and in government. At this time, I'm going to read to you a short story I wrote about a student. I am a student, just mush and clay. I'll come to seek, to learn, and to play. I knock at the door and wait and wait. Where is wisdom, knowledge, and fame? Inside my soul, I am so empty and plain. Can anything bring me meaning and fame? Or is my purpose just so simple and plain? My soul cries out for meaning and purpose. My spirit says worship and pray. My God and my Lord will show me the way to serve and to love my neighbor that way. So I got a lot of minutes left, and I don't know what I'm going to say at this point, but that's kind of my purpose, is to, share with the board, share with everybody. I've been doing this for about since 2015. So everybody I meet, I talk to them about the Constitution. I ask them, would you like to have a copy? And 90% of people say yes, and I give them one, sometimes I outline it. And the purpose of that is to educate them in our government and the way of our liberty and what we stand for as individuals, protect the future for our children. And I'm only a product of, I'm just an average person. I mean, I'm an average student. I never made, straight A's. I never was on a spelling bee. I never played on a varsity team. Both my brother and my sister they're the straight A students. They're not standing here. They don't have the heart and the desire to do what I'm doing. And it's not easy for me because, things don't come easy for me. And so that's the only thing I'm going to share with you guys. And other than the fact that I'll continue to do this as long as I feel like, the Lord calls me to do it. And naturally everyone has their own opinion. They're going to make their own decisions of what they're going to do. I don't expect you guys to change your ways of doing business just because what I present to the board. But maybe it'll have some impact. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hamadi. And next up, we have Mr. Carl Parker.
My name is Carl Parker. I'm the president of the Blimsie County NAACP. Glad to be here with you this morning. I was glad to hear the report coming from the superintendent. The only thing about the report, I didn't hear about whether there was any results. I saw the results of being at the schools and going and visit them, whether they register anybody or not. I'm very serious about registration of students, registration of people, because registration sometimes closes a little bit of the disparity between those that are voting. And we have a great distance between voting at the poll, and we have folks. I was reading 61 different ways of voter suppression, and I see where we fit in many of those categories of voter suppression because we don't get anybody in the vote. Back in 1857, whenever Roger B. Tannen was the first Catholic Supreme Court, he ruled that a black man have no rights that a white man was bound to respect. And I noticed a lot of things from this board when a black man began to speak and talk about many things. I don't really get an answer to it. I'm not sure whether it's not a thing of respect or you just don't want to answer me or not because you have that right to do so. But I'm very serious about people as a whole. I was at one of your schools today because of disparities between a student that had mental disability. I'll probably be back at South here pretty soon because of those things that happened back in November, where racial disparity, racial flags and different things are telling black students that the white supremacy was going to take back over the South and send them back to the cotton fields and so forth, and drawing maps. Now the students are back into the school, stepping on black children's feet. And if they retaliate, they're afraid to retaliate because they know they're going to be held accountable. So we are having those problems where it's not that you're covering up, you're just not saying anything and not doing anything about it. But I'll be back at the schools and begin to start working on some of those problems. I'm just not working on problems from black and white, but I'm working on problems of people of color. And because of God, we all have color. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And next we have the approval of the minutes from the April 5th, 2022 regular meeting and the April 12th committee meetings consisting of curriculum, budget work session, and HR, and the operations committee. If I have a motion to approve.
Motion. Second.
Motion by Mr. Robinson, second by Mr. Benton. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
And the consent agenda. Any board members have anything they want to pull from the consent agenda?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Mr. Benton.
Second.
Second by Mr. Lemon. All in favor say aye. Aye. And now on to action items. The first one is going to be the amendment to the driver's ed contract. Mr. Cheers.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Barger and members of the board. We have an addendum to our driver's ed contract. We've had increase in petroleum-based products this year, and it's really caused that services to increase in the cost of those services. And we're asking that be increased by $25 per student for the driving portion of driver's ed. And as you know, driver's ed funds come to the state and can only be used for driver's education.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Benton, second by Mr. Robinson. Any discussion? All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, next up we have the current expense budget 2022-23. Ms. Cahill.
Yes, as a recap, at the April committee meeting, a summary of the budget requests was presented to the board. This was just informational in that we're a long way from actually passing a budget because we don't have the state or the local budgets in place. We did share the items that are marked in red that we would like to proceed and move forward with those items. One being the increases as they come along. And then there are two positions at Town Creek Middle School that we wish to allocate now. Those positions are strictly formula changes. Their enrollment show that they're entitled to those positions like other schools with such enrollment. And then the other item was a coaching supplement increase of $100,000 to put in a new schedule for the next, to begin July 1. And we're looking for approval to move forward with those items.
Okay.
Make a motion to approve.
Motion by Mr. Lemon,
Second.
second by Ms. Moffitt. Any discussion?
I'd like to pull the coaching supplement myself.
I agree.
I would be willing to vote for the rest of it if we could pull that to further review.
We have a motion by Mr. Lemon and a second by Ms. Moffitt. As it stands, we'll call that vote. And then if it doesn't pass, Mr. Benton, we can consider your motion. So all in favor of Mr. Lemon's motion, but seconded by Ms. Moffitt, to approve it as written, say aye. Aye. And the nays?
Nay.
Nay.
That's a 3-2, Ms. Torrey. All right, next item, policy 4720, surveys of students waiving the second reading. Ms. Quinlan,
I'll be doing that one.
you'll be doing that? And I believe
Yes.
Ms. Moffitt was involved in that as well.
Correct. As we discussed in our last committee meeting, we wanted to move forward in having the policy 4720 adopted. We met, Ms. Moffitt and I and Ms. Quinlan met in my office and went through many of the concerns that she held. And I think, I don't want to speak for you, but I think those concerns have been lifted. But one of the things I did want to say regarding the survey, in the last year or so, and regarding this policy, in the last year, we have very much tightened up our survey policy. Very few, if any, surveys are being done that disseminate student information that delves into their personal lives, and that information being stored or shared or sent to some third party. We keep those items as far away from students as we possibly can. And I think there was some concern regarding our character ed program and some of the things that are brought into that. So we delved deep into our curriculum and looked at any of the issues, any of the surveys that may have gone that some districts use. I can sit here tonight and say Brunswick County does not use many of the surveys, if any of the surveys, that are being used in some of our other neighboring districts. So,
Dr. Oates, can I?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, one question. It just goes to conversation you and I have had this week, and I appreciate you responding back to me earlier today. This includes the Title IX.
That does include Title IX. We
Very
have not
good.
sent any Title IX surveys out. Mr. Cheers and I had worked a little while today and made sure that that was accurate, and we have not.
I appreciate y'all getting back to me. I did have numerous parents reaching out. As you mentioned, with the New Hanover County issue that made national attention, obviously, we got some questions, or I did anyway.
Right. When it comes to our Title IX situation, we simply gave our principals the updates, the procedures, and who to contact in the event that a Title IX violation did take place, which was, of course, required federally. But in regards to 4720, again, our survey policy is pretty tight.
Ms. Moffitt, did you want to add anything? You're kind of our board representative when it came to this in the meetings. I appreciate the work you did as well.
Yeah, so to further what Dr. Oates said, we just sort of delved into, what our county, for Brunswick County does for more like character education. So we do bullying awareness. If a student feels abused in any way, maybe at home, domestically, verbally, or anything like that, we want to have a pulse on that. Maybe suicide awareness, we want to have a pulse on that. But as far as things that should be discussed at home, they should stay at home and not brought into the school. As far as surveys, if a teacher asks, what's your favorite subject? What's your least favorite subject? Do you work after school, or do you have certain hobbies that you enjoy? Surveys like that just help a teacher get insight into helping their student, as you could probably understand. Sometimes the teacher needs to know if they have an after-school job, because that may impact their ability to turn in homework, or, them being tired during the day. But the surveys that we're gathering information on with our kids just basically help the teacher get a look into their life. We're not trying to collect data, send it out to a third party. We don't want it in a data bank somewhere in, I don't know where. So we're trying to protect our kids that way. So we feel pretty good about how we've tightened up the policy, and we don't want to bring things into the school that should just be a parenting issue. Leave parents to parent their children and leave it out of school. That's where we stand in Brunswick County.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve the policy as written?
Motion?
Motion by Mr. Robinson,
Second.
second by Ms. Moffitt. All in favor say aye. Aye. All right, next up, Senate Bill 654. Dr. Rhodes, if you have anything to add, I think we know what this is all about.
What this is a monthly vote regarding masking.
Dr. Oates, on this subject, can we talk just a little bit about, you and I had a discussion earlier in the week by email. I realize that some of our schools still have a good bit of autonomy, which is necessary for operating, and I realize that. They're still doing a little bit of functioning with regard to COVID protocols, and I think the majority of the board sort of was the intent to relax most of that, and I do realize we're 21 days before school's out, so it would be, I do agree with you, it's hard to reteach some of that, but is there, some of the, again, with some of the schools doing things differently and still interpreting some of the protective measures, are we able to relax what we can, if we can, to try to continue our normalcy as much as we can?
Yes, sir. In regard to our conversation, it was, so everyone will know, it was regarding some of the schools eating lunch in their classrooms. As you know, during the height of the pandemic, that was one of the things that the toolkit specified it needed to be done. However, students ate lunch and breakfast in classrooms prior to COVID as well. And in polling our principals to see where they were with it, many of the principals that I've spoken with said what you had just said, with this late time in the year, having to reteach procedures and behaviors for the cafeteria, which can be an undertaking.
Yeah.
I think all of you have been in a cafeteria when school is in session, was not necessarily prudent at this time. And also in listening to the students, many of the students, from the conversations I had with principals, wanted to stay in the classroom to eat lunch. But then to give just another perspective on that, the toolkit also said that once we kind of started going on the other side of the pandemic, that eating outside in open air was something that could be done. And of course, we've done that for ages. So that would be no change. But some of the benefits of going through this pandemic is that we have learned some things that we have done and that we don't have to do. Just for example, our principal meetings, some of them are virtual now. We did it out of necessity during the pandemic, but now we're doing virtual meetings out of efficiency. And the same applies to this situation of eating lunch and breakfast in the classrooms. Some of the things that the principals noted is that instructional time has been added. They can have somewhat working lunches, if you will. The discipline has definitely increased because you're not lining students up in the hallway and then you don't have the misbehaviors in the travel time to the cafeteria. Again, some of the students preferred it, teachers preferred it. The workload on the custodians has been decreased because you don't have to clean the cafeteria. But I will say, many of the schools are looking to start the upcoming school year going back into the cafeteria if they're choosing to, after polling the students and teachers, if they want to continue to go back, they can. But as far as relaxing it is relaxed as much as we can, possible. They're just making a choice. And I don't think it's necessarily COVID related. It's more so instructional, behavioral, and procedural related.
And that was one example, but I think another example could have been also related to the graduation issue we had over at Virginia Williamson. And I know the principal there, and I'm not trying to throw her under the bus, but she specifically cited some issues. And don't get me wrong, I do understand when you're bringing folks close. We still have issues out there. But for the sake of getting back to normal, I think we all deserve to try to bring things back to as much normalcy as we can at this point. And I know Mr. Benton here has been pretty vocal about having to vote on this very issue of masking every month. And do we have any information if this will need to continue?
This will continue. I spoke with Representative Miller just last night, and this will continue until something changes with, if I'm not mistaken, how the governor has approached the bill that was vetoed several months ago.
I'll make a motion to continue, optional.
Second. Motion to continue masks optional. As unfortunate it is that we have to keep doing this, I agree with Mr. Benton. Second by Mr. Lemon. All in favor of our kids not being forced to wear masks in school, say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
I'm just going to go.
Okay, unanimous, optional.
And we agree with you.
Last item on the action agenda, the Schneider Electric contract.
This item is not on the screen because it didn't get to the secretary in time. And the reason it's bypassing the normal process is we have been made aware that a price increase for this work is going to come soon before this has time to go through the normal process. And so that's why we're bringing it to you today. And I'll just have to read it if that's okay. Subject is a sole source purchase, electrical and building automation services and materials. The background is Brunswick County Schools has 3 middle schools: Leland, South Brunswick Middle, Shalope Middle, with old electrical distribution equipment original to facility construction, all located in an outdoor environment that needs replacement. This is planned replacement due to age and condition. This equipment is a likely point of failure if allowed to continue in service. Explanation: new distribution equipment with factory-installed power monitoring controls and integration into the existing exostructure control system, or the building automation system, will enable the district to monitor and track potential power quality problems. This would be on the school side or the utility side. This equipment provides real-time information used to respond quickly to prevent damages to electronic equipment, electric motors, etc. Additionally, the building automation information will enable staff to have electrical power data to make the most informed decision possible during power interruptions, which may or may not require an early dismissal of students or staff. This is not in the write-up. We have fairly frequent power interruptions in the county, and so this is going to be good equipment to have, just if nothing for that reason alone.
Sue, is this similar to the stuff you've installed at some of the other schools?
No, this is new. This is on the electrical side. We have so much electronic equipment in the schools now too. Power quality at times is an issue. We've had grounding issues at a couple schools, and we fixed that, we think. But this equipment, when the power is kind of off, kind of a little not going like this as much as you'd like it to, that affects electronic equipment especially, and it can affect electric motors too. So we have a lot of new equipment in our schools, especially HVAC stuff, and so this can protect that equipment. So it's just real good to have. If we're going to, this is planned replacement of electrical distribution equipment, and coupling that with the building automation equipment, it just gives you an extra layer of protection and information. That answer that good?
How much?
How much?
Yeah.
You want me to keep reading or just cut to the bottom line?
Can I ask a question
Yes, sir.
while you're in the middle of that?
Yeah.
The interoperability with existing equipment is there?
It will be with this, yeah.
Okay.
That's why this is, this is a sole source.
Purpose of this
Yes.
particular
Yes.
request? Okay.
That's correct.
Okay.
So Schneider Electric will custom build the equipment for Brunswick County Schools. The distribution equipment will, I've already said some of that. The integration of the building automation equipment and subsequent infusion into the existing exostructure BAS qualifies an approved sole source purchase per General Statute 143-129E6. The project scope includes distribution equipment with integrated automation capability, programming, design, installation, startup testing, commissioning, and construction management services. As you know, contracts, action requested. As you know, contracts exceeding $300,000 purchased with bond funding are approved and executed by Brunswick County. Therefore, staff requests the board approval of this purchase for $1,024,418 with Schneider Electric for the aforementioned improvements, and subsequently forward the required documentation to the county for approval and contract execution. And this would be for their May 17th meeting. The project has not been reviewed in Operations Committee as pricing was being developed and negotiated, and firm pricing can only be honored until May 19th, at which time a price increase is expected due to current market conditions.
That's a 9% increase on $1 million, correct? Approximately? No.
No, sir. The 19th is the.
I meant, how much are they talking to increase?
Oh,
If we don't make the
I
deadline?
don't remember I think that the increase was a double-digit number.
Okay. Motion to approve.
hold on one second. Ms. Cahill, this money's coming out of the capital? Yeah, okay. All right,
And it won't have negative implications on other purchases associated with the bond funding?
No, sir.
motion to approve by Mr. Benton, do I have a second?
Second.
Whew.
Mr.
Mr. Lemon, I think was a close second. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Thank you.
Motion to close.
Motion to go to closed session with Mr. Benton,
Second.
second by Ms. Moffett, all in favor, say aye. Aye. All right, we'll reconvene the regular meeting. Do I have a motion to approve personnel?
So moved. Second.
Motion by Mr. Benton, second by Mr. Robinson. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And
Adjourn.
Mr. Benton with a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
Second by Mr. Lemon. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Thank you for coming tonight.